back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Whatnauts review show, where we cover all sorts of different stories, styles, genres, mediums. Could be a comic book, could be a movie, all sorts of stuff. This week we are covering Knives Out, the mystery film from 2019, I believe is what.
Yes.
2019, written and directed by Rian Johnson. I'm excited to talk about this one, so we will get into it in just a bit here. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined, as always, by Melissa Wilkinson.
Yep.
Melissa, how are you?
I'm okay. I've been on the hunt for a coffee maker. That's been my escapade this weekend.
Okay. Did you have like certain? I'm not a coffee drinker, so I don't even know how coffee makers work exactly. But are you looking for certain features, style? Like, what is your criteria?
There is one coffee maker in particular that keeps circling in and out of stock.
Okay.
So I have a hot coffee maker, and this is a iced coffee maker. Like it brews, like it's specifically designed to brew coffee that will be iced. And like, you'll put the ice in the cup and put the cup under the spout. But, so that does half the work for you. But like it brews the coffee to be cooled. And iced coffee is mostly how I drink it. So I would love to have this instead of having like a French press of cold coffee sitting in my fridge all the time, taking up space. Like, I can just make one whenever I want it. And this machine, it's like, you can get it at Target. It's a Target exclusive, I think.
Ooh,
I haven't seen it anywhere else. That might be the problem. And it's very well priced. It's like less than $30. It's a compact little machine.
It's good.
It comes in several beautiful colors. So I understand it being a hot ticket item. People want this. You just make your iced coffee at home. You have to take multiple trips out. I can't get the thing in stock. Like it's in and out. Like I've got it set up to notify me on like every color that they have individually.
Oh man.
And it'll say, "Hey, your item is back in stock." And I'll go there and it's like, "Oh, we don't have that." Like it's selling out in seconds, I think.
That's what it's been like to get the PlayStation 5 or the new Xbox, which came out this week.
This happens for like merchandise. This happens for like hot sneakers. This doesn't happen for a Mr. Coffee machine.
That's funny. Well, sounds like your week has been eventful, or at least your weekend has been eventful.
It's
hunting
just,
down this
it's just me
coffee
fiddling around on the Target app.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still waiting. I have the Target app on my phone for my PlayStation 5, which should get here on Monday. But it's not. Last I checked, it was in West Virginia. Let's see where it's at.
That's
now.
almost the Virginia where you live.
I mean, East
it just has to get to Virginia Prime.
Yeah, Virginia Prime. That's a good one. My weekend has
Virginia
been
original recipe.
Good. I finished up that third Gundam movie, the Zeta Gundam movie. I've gotten back to my Gundam watching stuff. That's been good. It's been fun. About to start the next show in that. I don't have much else that's going on right now, so that's it. That's what I've been up to. But let's get into Knives Out.
Yeah.
Knives Out is good. So Knives Out, this was one when it came out in theaters. I remember it because this was the next movie that Rian Johnson made after he made his Star Wars movie. Yes. Which now I completely forget the name of.
The Last Jedi.
One of those dumb kids. Yes, The Last Jedi. I didn't like that film. I didn't think it was all very good. I don't think it's as bad as everyone is saying it is, but oh man, yeah, I didn't like it. I don't know. There's certain things that are really neat, but then there's certain things that are just like, oh, why? And so this was an interesting one to see come out. This was it caught my attention because it was like a crime mystery movie thing, right? And I was like, I like those. Maybe I'll like this. you know. But then that like sour taste of Star Wars was just like, well, I can wait. I'm not gonna go see it. But then everyone who went and saw it was like, it's fantastic, it's wonderful, it's great. Go see it right now. And I was just like, oh man, I think I missed out. I think I missed out on something I would have enjoyed. This is not cool. I don't like this feeling.
Yeah.
And so here we are. I finally pitched it this week, and you picked it. You had already seen this.
Yeah, I went to see this in theaters last year, and I did leave thinking Kyle would really like this.
Yep, there it is. There it is. I missed out. But yeah, so what made you want to pick this one this week? Was it this like, man, Kyle would really like this, and here he is finally pitching it.
It is to make you watch it, and also, this is a murder mystery film, but even beyond that basic conceit, it has a lot of surprises in it, and I really wanted to watch this movie again, knowing how it was going to wrap up.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. That makes sense. It's kind of neat to go back and do that, especially with mystery movies and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, now I know all the clues I'm supposed to be looking for. Let me go back and like, oh, now I see there was that one scene where this happened, and oh my gosh, how did I not see that, you know? So.
And even beyond clues, this is a movie that really plays against your expectations. Its structure is really interesting. The protagonist is not who you think the protagonist is going to be. The narrative is not what you think it is going to be. So just structurally, I wanted to watch that setup and pay off again. Sure,
yeah. Well, now that I have seen this movie, I did enjoy it a lot. I thought it was a good little solid mystery film. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if I liked it as much as everyone did when they saw it in theaters, but I still really enjoyed it. Pretty much have good things to say, you know, all around. So I'm excited to dive in with this. But yeah, you mentioned that the main character is not who you think it is. The whole thing kind of plays with your expectations of mystery films and stuff, or if you're a big like mystery novel Agatha Christie fan, then it kind of plays with your expectations and is still a solid one of those. That makes sense, you know? Like it's not like they're subverting it so much that it's something new entirely. It's still this like, man, I love good mystery novels. Let's make a good mystery novel thing here, you know?
It is a loving homage to that whole genre. And when it is subversive, it isn't subversive in a pretentious or a cynical way. Yeah,
indeed. So just further general thoughts. It's a star-studded cast. We have I should pull up the Wikipedia page with all the names and stuff like that. We got Daniel Craig, Chris Evans. We have Jamie Lee Curtis. We have Frank Oz, Joseph Gordon-Levitt with a voice cameo,
just like in The Last Jedi.
Right? Yeah. There's so many people in this film that you will recognize. Lakeith Stanfield, who I love. He's a great actor. It's fun to see them all kind of playing it. It's not meant to be a wacky movie, but it has a certain like almost sense of humor to the film that is kind of wacky, and it's fun to just see them play in that space.
It's not as broad as Clue, but you can tell like the Clue DNA is in this film.
Absolutely. So let's do a synopsis of the film for those of you all who might not have seen it yet and want to know a little bit more about it. Melissa, since you've seen it twice, do you want to give the synopsis for this one?
Sure. A famed best-selling mystery author commits suicide the night of his 85th birthday party. So all of his family's in town, all his kids, all his grandkids, and the police come by and investigate this to make sure it really is a suicide. And somebody has hired Benoit Blanc, the last of the gentleman detectives, who's wandering around there. And he's like, I don't think this case is as clear as you think it is. I think there's foul play. I think he was murdered. I think this was set up to look like a suicide. So they're solving the mystery. And there's also the big issue hanging over everybody's heads of the will. Because all the kids, grandkids are kind of... he's truly spoiled them. He's paid for like everything in their lives. They all live off the back of his success, and they're all just waiting to see how much money are they getting out of this will. And then amidst all of this, there's Harlan Thrombey's nurse and Marta. And she's, comes from a humble background. She has no interest in any of the money or the fame or anything. Her and Harlan became best of friends in his later years, and she's just trying to survive this entire ordeal of being surrounded by this vulture family.
Yeah, this like grieving vulturous family.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend going to check it out. I know at the time of recording, it is on Amazon Prime. So you guys can go watch it there if you have that. But yeah, go check it out. It's a good film. It's lots of fun. I enjoyed it for sure. So there you go. I don't think I have any other like non-spoilery thoughts because it is a mystery.
It is. Yeah. I will say it's a visual treat.
Plot stuff. Then, yeah.
Technically, this movie is very well made. Great shots, beautiful sets and costumes, and good music choices. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, let's get into housekeeping, and then we will get into our spoiler section after that. So if you guys did not know, we have multiple podcasts here at the Whatnauts. You guys can find out more information on our website, which is thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. You guys can just type in the Whatnauts, and all of our shows will pop up right there. If you like what we do, patreon.com/thewhatnauts is where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. We have a $3 tier where you guys can get all sorts of exclusive content. We recently put up a Patreon exclusive episode of Crossplay, which is our video game podcast. And Melissa, you joined us on that because we were talking about video games, urban legends, and conspiracy theories and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun. You guys should go check that out. That was also the first time that we had all of the Whatnauts crew, all 5 of us, on camera at the same time. So that is something special indeed. Go check it out. That's at the $3 tier on our Patreon. And we would also like to give a big shout out to our Patreon supporters at the $5 tier. So thank you, Sam, so much for helping us out. It means a lot. We love you tons. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Love you.
Okay. Spoilers are about to commence. We've done our housekeeping. Let's get on with the show.
There we go.
There you go. It worked. Yeah. Spoiler territory. Here we are. Where do I want to start with this? I don't know. Let's start with the whole main character thing. Of like, it's not who you think it would be. When you went to go see this in theaters, who did you think the main character was going to be?
From the trailers, what I remember is that it looked like Daniel Craig Benoit Blanc is the main character as the detective trying to solve this mystery.
Sure.
And it seemed like it was going to spend a lot more time like in the mansion talking with everybody, spending more time with all the Thromby kids.
Sure.
Kind of like a clue, you know, the meat of the thing is the investigation and the interviews. And if there's, you know, little mishaps that happen around the mansion, somebody tries to hide something, so something goes wrong, stuff like that.
Right.
And instead it turns out that there are interviews, there are things like that, but that's like a 20-30 minute chunk at the beginning of the movie. Like the movie starts pretty much, you know, Harlan Thromby's already dead. We see all the interviews. You see, and like Daniel Craig's just like sitting in the background while like the police are doing all these investigations. It's eventually, and he doesn't talk. And you get a couple of these interviews in before somebody's like, "Who's that guy? Who's that silent man just sitting behind you? What's his deal?"
He's sitting there, and like when things start to get a little bit off track or something, he just hits the piano that's right next to him. Just this weird, like, "Hey, get back to the good stuff." And it all kind of starts to not climax, but kind of coalesce into this, just like, who is this guy? Like, what is he even doing here? Like, he's not a police officer. He's a private investigator that is officially consulting. So it is, just like, who is this guy? Like, he hasn't introduced himself. So he's just sitting there in the back, you know?
So you were thinking, oh, I thought that was the protagonist. It seems like he might not be, because I think the first person you are introduced to probably is Marta, and Marta is the protagonist of the film. And I think I saw her in trailers, but she was not focused on. I think the trailers focused on detective and family, and it didn't introduce this private nurse character into the narrative that much, into what it was setting up in the trailers. So to find out that she's the main character, everything hinges on her, we're seeing everything through her eyes. And Benoit Blanc he's just sort of an audience member just like us. Like he just wandered into this movie to watch everything and try and figure it out alongside us.
He has this question which helps him solve the mystery, but he got hired by someone. Not like he was not invited there by the cops to be like, "Hey, we can't figure it out. I don't know." Like he just shows up. He's like, "Someone hired me. I want to know who."
Yeah.
It was just an envelope of cash and a newspaper clipping. So I just showed up here, right?
Yeah, like, I was free this weekend.
Yeah, and so like that is like that. Almost seems to serve as his like motivating factor. It's like, who hired me? Like, what, why? You know? And so he ends up like not being like he ends up being one of the protagonists / antagonists at the same time. Like he goes back and forth there. But he is one of the more prominent characters. But he's not the main character. And it ends up being the nurse, the caretaker, which is something you don't typically see in a crime film. Like one of the potential suspects, right, is usually not the main character. It's usually the detective or the whoever is leading the investigation and stuff like that. So that was a nice, just like, oh, okay, here, a new perspective. So, let's see. The nurse, her name was Marta. She is played by Ana de Armas. I thought she did good. I thought she was a delight to watch, because she is just like this normal person.
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
She was just like stuck in the middle of all of it, like this eccentric rich family, these weird detectives. And she's just like, I don't want to, like, I'm so sorry for your loss. It's affecting me too, because I now no longer have a job. But still, like I don't really want to be here. I'm
Yeah,
just
you can
stuck here for now.
yeah, like she was very close with Harlan, and some of the family members were kind to her. The
Mhm.
granddaughter Meg seems like she really made an effort to be friends with Marta. Some people are nicer to her than others, and like she wishes them well. You know, she wants them to get over whatever problems they have in life. She advises Harlan and how he could have, uh, you know, done better at talking to Jamie Lee Curtis's character. Like, hey, I think you're kind of distant to your daughter. Maybe you should try being a little bit more open with her. Like, Marta has been trying to like coach him into being a better patriarch of this family. It's like she has sympathy to them, but yeah, they that's not her family. Harlan was
Mhm.
family to her, but his entire extended family to her not so much.
Yeah. And one of the kind of main details about Marta is that she's an
Mm, mm,
immigrant. And it looks like she is in the country illegally. I guess that was a little bit unclear if it was her that was in there illegally or it was only her mother. Um,
yeah, I'm not sure.
it might be it might have been that she was fine, but it was her mother that was
Yeah,
not.
because I think they do talk about how if Marta is brought in, they'll find out her mom, but they don't talk about how that would
Right.
add to her case or if there's any case against her sister.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that is kind of in the back of her mind that's what she's thinking of like, oh, now there's this murder investigation, they're gonna look into me because I'm the nurse and you know, like she's thinking about that in the back of her mind of just like, what am I gonna do now? um and so yeah, she's hoping to stay out of the whole thing, but that detail kind of ends up permeating the whole film of
Mm-hmm.
the theme of the film. I'm sure you can find an analyses out there of like, what does Knives Out say about about immigration or
Mm-hmm.
you know, white privilege in society or something like that. There are themes of that, and I think this film is trying to say certain things in with
Mm-hmm.
that, but I I don't know if that's the strength of this film. I don't feel like that.
Yeah.
It's there if you want it. You can kind of look into it, but that's not really it.
Yeah, there is a level of social satire with all of these family members and their
Yeah.
relationship to Marta and how she gets by in their world. But yeah, I think the how it plays with the murder mystery genre is the more interesting thing to me.
Right.
I like how it relates to other art as opposed to how it relates to real world things. That
Yeah.
hits for me a little bit more.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say on that like satire stuff is, yeah, the family has a lot of people in it, right? It's a big old
Mm,
family, and yeah, that like you said with the satire thing, like each family member kind of represents a different entitled white person, right? Like
mm,
each one is not necessarily the like the trust fund. I mean, they all have money in their own way, but it's all slightly different
yeah.
ways there. So yeah, it's like, here's one that like inherited the business and now runs the business. Here's one that started their own business, but it's also still basically run by the parents' money.
Mm,
Here's one that's basically just getting the money and is not really doing much with it except sending their kids to college, right?
mm,
So here, you know, here's yeah, and then the kids, there's one who's like an alt-right dirtbag, and there's one who's a SJW, you know, like it's just this like, there's one of each of them, right?
mm.
um, so yeah, it's interesting to see in that way, and then by the end of this film, see them all just get like, well, you're shit out of luck. Sorry, like you don't get the
Mm.
money, you don't get the house, you don't get like all of that stuff, you know. So yeah, that was kind of fun to see, but yeah, it's not the main focus of the film. I think it's nice that it's at least in there because it makes it
Hmm.
feel like it's a little bit more than just a mystery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's actually saying something, but yeah, it is more about the mystery.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And the uh so we get to the will reading earlier on in the film that I think a murder mystery would typically put it. Like,
mhm. Yeah,
the whole I'm standing at the fireplace and I'm like, the murderer is in this room. Like, that thing is kind of pulled apart from the will reading, whereas I feel like that's like a scene that would classically be conjoined together.
yeah,
And in the will reading, you find out that Harlan left everything to Marta. It is all hers. The
yeah.
family does not get anything. And that's the conflict you're left with. That's where the movie ends. It's with her deciding,
Right, yeah.
am I going to pass any of this down to this family? Or am I going to keep it all for myself, like in Harlan's wishes? Yes, this family is all very troubled, problematic people largely, but
Right.
are they so bad that they don't get any of this? This is their family's money. This is something they've been counting on, but also, like, they were not bad to Harlan. They were all vulturistic, but like they all showed up for his birthday party. They were all happy to see him. They were all loving and caretaking of him in some degree. Is that not worth something? Is that worth more than what he had already given them? Like, it's Marta's in a position where she private judgments of these people aside, she's holding their entire way of life.
Right.
Like, she's holding their entire futures in her hand, and it's the question of, are you so bad that I have to turn my back on you completely? Like, what how deep does this go?
Yeah, and it's interesting because at the end of the film, like that last scene
Yeah.
is her like up on the balcony of the house with a coffee mug, which I think says something like "It's my house."
Yeah,
or-
like
or-
my
or
house, my
something.
coffee, my rules. And it was
Right, yeah.
Harlan's coffee mug.
Yeah, which is it maybe hints at what she's going to end up doing, but she is looking down at the situation, and you can kind of tell she hasn't made up her mind yet. Where she
Yeah.
still is just like, I'm going to think about it and take my time.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
And after the ordeal that this family went through, there's also the question of could these people be taught a lesson? Are any
Yeah.
of them so far gone that they couldn't come back to being a more kindly, humble, well-rounded person? Have the experiences they've been through taken steps towards that after they found out, oh, I wasn't getting all that money I was counting on. Dad gave it to his nurse because his nurse was a good, solid, thoroughly loving person.
Right, yeah.
How does that make any of them think about themselves after it's been settled? Like, no, there is no legal way out of this. Like, we can't break the will. Like, the money goes to her. Like, she's keeping the money. What she does with it is then up to her. Like,
Yeah.
can they be taught a lesson? How much of this lesson have they been taught already by having that rug pulled out from under them?
Indeed. Did you have a favorite family member?
Oh. Like, it's a lot of actors who I really enjoy. I love Ricky Lindholm whenever she pops up in something. She's one of my favorite
Mhm.
little bit part character actresses.
Which one was she? Was she?
She's Michael Shannon's wife, the
Okay.
blonde woman with like the real preppy sweaters.
Yeah. Okay.
I just like seeing her. I think my favorite kid might have been Michael Shannon. I think he was interesting.
Shannon as Walt Romby.
Yeah, and he is in charge of the publishing company, and he's been trying, and
He's the one with the cane, right?
Yeah, like
Okay,
there's a little detail. They don't say anything about it, but like he's had a leg injury. Like he's walking around in a cast for the entire movie. So there's a whole story with him that started long ago that we don't see the beginning of. He just has a cane and a cast for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just takes his father's words and publishes them, and he wants to adapt. He wants to make these into movies and TV series and or plays or something like that, escape rooms. Who knows what he wants to do? And Harlan was like, no, I write the novels. They stay as novels. And then, he says at one point, maybe I should have encouraged Walt to write his own stories instead of just being the caretaker of mine. Because that is, he can see like kind of what Walt wants to do. He's like, if he's in charge of an adaptation, he's got more of his own creative freedom instead of just stewarding somebody else's work through the business world.
That makes sense. Yeah. I think
that was an interesting conflict. No, that's it.
I think I have to go with Chris Evans's character. Because he's just the most just gleeful and happy through most of the film. Like he gets there and he's just like, and eat shit, you definitely eat shit. Like, I hate all of you. This is great. And yeah, he just like, when he is there for the will writing and he hears that it's all going to Marta, he's just the happiest, like, this is great. Like, all my dipshit family, they get nothing.
Yeah, because he knew.
So happy.
Because he knew he was already written out of the will after arguing with his grandpa about it. So to then find out, or at least appears that he's finding out in the moment, oh, nobody else is getting the money? This is a delight.
Yeah.
Doesn't change my situation any.
And because like when you first see him, he does kind of give off like a douchebag kind of vibe, just like rich kid who always had it made, didn't have to do a thing for himself. Hasn't made anything of himself. Like, did they mention like what he does, like what his job is?
Playboy, I guess. And he's I think Chris Evans is
playboy.
Very well cast in this movie. It's a great performance. It's fun to see him be this kind of sleazy villain. But also, he's like a little bit older than that character may be in other stories. The like ne'er-do-well, never made anything out of his life, layabout playboy. Chris Evans is like, what, 38? And I feel like that character, you typically don't see that character at that age. They're like a little younger. So the fact that they cast him at however old he is, it's like, oh, you've really not made anything of yourself in a long time. This has been going on for a while.
Yeah. And yeah, he's just a delight to see on screen because he's also one of the characters that I feel like doesn't fit in. Like, he's basically the baby of the family, and he's so different from everyone else because he just doesn't care. Like, he wants nothing to do with the mystery novels, nothing to do with the publishing, nothing to do with the businesses that they have. He wants to do his own thing, but he doesn't even know what his own thing is. He's just off doing God knows what. But then he just loves to see his family suffer. And then by the end of the film, we learn that he is in fact the murderer. He is the perpetrator. So.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about the murder itself yet, which is twists back on itself a lot. Yeah,
so I say we dive into that because it's an interesting analogy that they use. I think is also one of the funnier moments in the film. He's like, it's like a donut with a hole in the middle, and then there's
with the hole inside the middle.
Yeah, with another
smaller
hole
donut. So Marta is giving Harlan his nightly medication. She gives him this pain medicine for an injury he has. And then she gives him like a little bit of morphine to help him sleep. And we see her do this, and we see that she switches the bottles by mistake. And she's like, I gave you too much morphine. You're going to die in 10 minutes. And he's just like, oh, really? Fascinating. Wow. And he's like taking notes for just in case he lives, that then he can write this into a murder novel.
Yeah.
And he's like, and they live in this big, beautiful mansion out in the countryside. And he's like, an ambulance will not get here in time. I'm dead. I'm a goner. I accept that. That's okay. Now I need to do everything possible to make sure no legal ramifications come to you as the perpetrator of my death by mixing up my medication.
Which
so
all of that is actually the first like twist that we see, because again we at first think it's a suicide with foul play, but we don't know exactly how that happened. And then we see this like mixed medicine thing, but then their whole thing is, okay, we need to stage this to make it look like you had nothing to do with this. And so that's when he commits suicide and like slits his own throat and stuff, which is okay, goodness,
very traumatic.
Right?
And
Not
like she has to do this
stabbing or something, but slit throat.
She has to do this whole series of things where she has to like very obviously leave, like, boy, I can't believe it's already midnight, time to go home. She walks out the door. She has to like drive her car away and then park it just outside the range of the security cameras, then walk back up to the house through the side gate and crawl up the trellis to the house. And then get inside and put on like his robe and then go downstairs pretending to be him. And then Michael Shannon's going to see her through a frosted glass door and think it's just Harlan, and then yell at his dad to go back to bed, which they were counting on. Then he's just going to yell at him like, Dad, go to bed. And then she sneaks back upstairs and they're like, oh, yeah.
Think about this. They had that planned to a T. How much of that did he already have in his mind of like, hey, if I die somehow, if I get murdered somehow, we're like, I have plan A through Z, right? And I just like pick the one that will work the best. He's like, all right, E, use plan E. All right, so that means you need to go leave and say it's midnight and blah blah blah, and then go out past this thing, and then come back in the side gate, and he's just like, how do you think of that fast if you don't have it already planned out? I'm just like,
I guess
he's a murder mystery novel writer. I guess he had it planned, but like that's not a detail they mention that he actually has it planned out. It's just one of those things of like, this is ridiculous. How?
I think
how
it's
does
just,
he have all of that stuff?
This is the mind of a man who has written like 25 best-selling murder novels, and you can see there's the state trooper is there as part of the investigation, and he loves these novels. He's like, the one where the cow has the shotgun, like, how do you even think about that? So I think that helps us set up like, this is how this man's brain has always worked. Maybe he can come up with this in 10 minutes before he dies.
Yeah, it's fun to watch, because that's also usually not something that you get of like the person that's being murdered figuring out how to do all of that stuff for someone else, right?
Yeah.
It's usually the murderer that just like hopes to do things in the right sequence of events, and just like, oh, I hope this works.
Yes.
It's just it's fun, it's ridiculous, it's kind of wacky, but it's like it is or it is not at the same, like it's not so wacky that you like oh my god, what the hell, but it's still just like, this is wild. Like how did they think of that?
Yeah, like the whole movie operates on this heightened sense of reality where everybody's just like a human being turned up to 11, and like all the family members are these kind of broad caricatures, but it's still, it never breaks that sense of disbelief. Like you never don't buy what the movie is giving you. You never feel like it has left the realm of the genre it's in and is now this sort of fantasy comedy.
Yeah.
And the way this is structured is that we see I think the first scene in the movie, it's like we're seeing Marta being sad or something like that. Or I think maybe we see like the housekeeper Fran like go and take the coffee up to Harlan, and then she sees that he's dead. And like you see the detectives, they're conducting all these interviews. They go through the family members and they get to Marta. And then when Benoit Blanc's trying to talk to Marta about now what really happened that night, then you see her whole flashback, and that's when you find out this is exactly how he died. and she was the perpetrator of it, and that's why, beyond just grieving for a friend, she's like very nervous.
Yeah, and that is also where it introduces another character tick of Marta, is that she cannot lie. Well, she can, but it makes her so like sick and uneasy that she vomits.
She's literally sickened at the thought of lying.
Yeah, she's just like the most pure good person.
Yes.
I just want to help. I'm a nurse. I help people. I like it. It physically pains me to like lie and do harm to people.
Yeah.
So she's struggling, like trying to maintain this thing of like telling the truth, but not really telling the truth, like not telling all of the truth.
Yes.
And stuff like, well, I did leave. It was midnight. I did, do all of that
I
stuff.
I drove my car away. Yeah. Like just telling fragments that are true and that can piece together into an innocent story for the investigators. Yeah. We talked like the bad characters of the film are like bad in a little bit of a cartoony way. You're right. This Marta's clinical inability to lie is like good in an almost cartoony way. Like this movie does do really improbable things, but like I said, it plays it very well into where nothing breaks what the film is trying to do. It only enhances it.
Yeah, I agree. So I also want to mention here, I think after that first interview with Martha, we do, I don't know if she doesn't notice it, but the film shows us that she has a drop of blood on her shoe. I think it's right after that first interview. And that ends up kind of being one of the clues that Benoit Blanc realized that, hey, she has something to do with this.
Yeah.
She's not necessarily telling the whole truth, but he can also see that, like, lying makes her, like, she's not a bad person. Like, if she did that, like, this was a complete accident. Like, so he that's another one of the things that helps him figure it out, and stuff like that. But that's also not the end of the mystery. Like that's just the first twist of like, oh well, Martha switched the medicines on accident and stuff like that. But yeah, then things keep going and things start not adding up, and there's some weird hints that like, so there's other things that happened that we haven't really looked into yet. Like they have the like their grandma is, I think, also
Nana!
one of the best characters. Yeah,
Nana is the best.
She is great, and yeah, in the scene after Marta had gone back into the house to like fake being the father with the bathrobe on and stuff, she climbs back out the window and down the lattice and like is right in front of one of these windows, and Nana sees her. But she's really old. In fact, they don't know exactly how old she is, because she must be 130 something. Because
right, if Harlan just turned 85, she has to be above 100, and she's this tiny, wrinkled old thing. She's wearing like 6 coats.
She barely
these
speaks.
Giant glasses. Yeah. She's eating everything. I was texting Jack, and I'm like, she reminds me of Baby Yoda, and that she's just sort of like small and all bundled up and just gobbling up all the stuff and just sort of looking around.
Yeah.
Love her.
That's exactly it. But yeah, so she gets spotted by Nana, but Nana thinks that it's Ransom, which is Chris Evans' character. She's like, "Oh, you're back again. Oh, okay." And yeah, that's her like one of the first hints that it's like, something's up. But then there's the whole thing with like the dogs barking at 3 a.m. Like we don't know what that's about at first. Like there's still some stuff that's like, what's going on here? There's some intrigue and mystery.
Mm.
But yeah, I guess the next big thing though is kind of the will reading.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. That's when they read the will. That's when they find out that all of it is going to Marta. The family
Which
erupts.
she also did not know.
Yeah.
Like before the will is read, I think it is Meg and Joni that go up to her. They're like, "Hey, Marta, we know you were who are the family members who are the nicest to her."
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Marta, like we know Dad absolutely relied on you. He viewed you as part of the family. We want to view you as part of the family as well." Like and it's a plot point mentioned that Marta was directly hired by Harlan. She does not work like through a service that he hired. You know, she does not have other employment to go to now that her patient is dead because she worked directly for him.
Right. Yeah.
They're like, we want to take care of you, because they presume they're getting money and they don't imagine that Harlan would have written Marta into the will. So then like everybody's shocked when they read the will and it turns into this disaster. Like everybody's screaming. They turn around. They start blaming Marta. They think this was like a con, you know, that she was sleeping with Harlan. She convinced him to give her all the money. They like chase her out of the house. She gets in her car. She can't get her car to start. They're banging on the windows. It's a nightmare. And then Ransom's like, get in my car. And like, you know, I don't think they've spoken to each other, but she's like, if I get in his car, I'm away from all this. So she hops in there and escapes.
Yeah. And they have, I think, also one of the funnier moments in the will reading, where after they initially erupt, they're like, everybody out. Cops, get out of our house. Marta, out of our house. And then they're like, wait a minute. And then they look back at the guy who's writing the will, and he's like, and I leave the house to Marta. And they're just like, damn it,
great.
Fuck.
There's also a scene later where it's like that night, and you can tell they've kept poor Frank Oz, the will reader, there all night, grilling him, and his like assistant who's with him is just like asleep in the background, just like leaning against a throw pillow. It's been so long.
Just to like, well, what if like he was insane, or he was sick, or you know, what legal standing do we have? And they finally are just like, you're useless. He's like, well, my job here is done.
Right, like he doesn't know anything. Like he's just there to read the papers. I love how much of this movie's storytelling is visual like that. Like you see, oh, it's night, the fireplace is going, the assistant is like sleeping on a couch in the corner. One of my favorite bits is that all of Marta's pants are too short. So you can infer, oh, her family really does not have a lot of money. She's probably wearing the same pants she bought in high school because she can't pay to replace them.
Are they too short, or are they like capris?
No, they're not capri length. They are just too short.
Interesting. That is not a detail I even looked at.
I could not stop looking at it.
Because
that's
I'm
like
sitting
something
here like, pants are too short. Where did you?
No, because it's something I
watching?
remember from like when you're a little kid and like you're growing faster than like your mom can get you new clothes and your pants come up too short. It's mortifying. Like that's like a pain I remember. So I notice when I see it happening to other people. Yeah, her pants are just like not short enough to be capris, but you can see the top of her socks, and it's real awkward looking.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Huh. Good catch on that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I also want to mention this is a great movie for sweaters.
Yes, lots of
and
sweaters.
Chris Evans is wearing the hugest, most baggy sweater to hide the fact that he is literally superhumanly buff. Like, he's so buff, they would have had to stop and talk about it.
Yeah.
It's that noticeable. So instead, they're like, what is the most cable knit sweater we can find?
Let's get you a 3XL sweater.
Yes.
And that way, no one will know. Yeah, it's good. So they go off, Marta and Ransom, which is an interesting name to be called in a mystery novel movie
right
thing.
And this great detail that's his middle name. His first name is Hugh. And he says, and like, because he's a pretentious dick, he's like, I make the help call me Hugh. You know, my family all calls me Ransom. And later in the movie, the housekeeper points at Marta and says, Hugh did this. And she's like, you did this. I did this. She knows it was me. And then later it's revealed, oh, she was pointing the finger at Ransom the whole time. Hugh did this.
Yeah.
Which is great. Great. Love it. There's a story about this movie. Do you remember last year we were recording our episode about Gremlins, Gremlins 1 and 2? And I was excited that there was a scene in Gremlins 2 where they go to a Canadian steakhouse and quietly playing in the background is a Gordon Lightfoot song, Canadian singer-songwriter treasure Gordon Lightfoot. And I'm like, oh man, I've never picked up on that before. I love Gordon Lightfoot. Cool. That day we recorded that episode, like an hour after we were done recording, I go to the movie theater. I see this movie. There's a scene where two characters in a restaurant and it starts playing a Gordon Lightfoot song.
Amazing. It was meant to be.
Right. I feel like Gordon Lightfoot is my guardian angel watching over me. He's light of feet because he has wings.
Yeah. It's like if you see a movie in there with a song by him, you know, like, oh, this is gonna be a good movie. This is a Melissa movie. Right.
So I loved when he showed up in that one episode of Mr. Robot this year.
So they go to this restaurant and he gets Marta to kind of spill the beans of like, okay, what happened? Like, I know you weren't supposed to get this. Why are you getting all of this? And he's just like, just fill me in.
And she has just literally eaten beans. They talk about how that's what was on her plate. It was like a beans and sausage plate that she's eating. And he's like, if you lie to me, you're going to have to throw all of that up. So he's making her spill the beans under threat of spilling beans.
Yeah. And he also knows her, like, if she lies, she vomits thing. So he very smoothly asks the waiter for a second bowl. And at first you don't think anything of it, but then when he's like, you just ate all of these like beans. Now tell me the truth. And he pulls away the plate and hands her the bowl, and just like, oh god damn it, he's good. He knows exactly what he's doing.
And you imagine that would not have gotten far before the other people in the restaurant were like, what? Why is she just vomiting in a bowl at the table? Like, ma'am, do you need to leave? And
they're just like, no, we're good.
The restaurant would not let this keep happening beyond the first time.
Right. Yeah. So she spills it, and she lets him in on the whole thing of just like, I accidentally switched the medicines. I'm trying to not be caught by the police because my mother is an illegal immigrant, and she says the whole 9 yards, and I guess in the back of Chris Evans' mind, that's when he realizes, like, I'm having more problems than I thought, because he is the one that kind of perpetrated the whole thing. So how does he do this exactly again? Because he switched the medicines too.
So he knew, Harlan told him all the money's going to Marta. And so out of revenge, Ransom goes and finds Marta's medical bag, and he switches the labels so that she will overdose him. And he also takes the drug that would stop the overdose. So she has no backdoor. She has no way out of this. But then you find out at the end that she had... So he switched the labels so that she would give him the regular painkiller like normal, but it would be 100 milligrams of morphine. Right. And she would, the whole process would go on as normal. But she had switched the bottles in her hand and given him 100 milligrams of what she thought looking at the label on the bottle was morphine. So like he switched the labels so that she would mess up but not notice, but she did notice. She picked up the correct bottle even if the label was wrong and gave him the correct dosage of the drug despite what the label said. And it's like you recognized based on like the feel of the bottle in your hand with the slight variations in like how the liquid drug inside the bottle looked, how the viscosity of it, you recognized mentally beyond
it's
looking
this,
at the label.
Subconscious thing of just,
yes,
like,
this is the drug he's supposed to get this much of. So Harlan was never overdosed. When he slit his own throat, he entirely killed himself. It is, at the end of the day, legally ruled as suicide. Because, like, Marta, you never did anything. You gave him the correct dosage. You were just mistaken thinking he was about to die in 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we don't learn that yet. But, yeah. Chris Evans in the back of his mind is just like, well, shit, now I got some more issues to deal with. And that leads into like the whole like second half of the film where Marta and Chris are kind of adventuring around town to set things up to make it right, of like, oh, well, someone sent us a ransom note with the like DNA, the like drug,
the blood toxicology report.
Right, yeah. So we need to like somehow steal that report so no one else finds it. But then the building lights on fire. What do you know?
Yeah.
So that helps them, but it also starts to be more suspicious. And Benoit Blanc is on the case, and he spots them at the scene and starts chasing them and stuff like that. Meanwhile, they're also meeting up with the person that sent the note that says, hey, like, we know that you did this thing. Which, again, what was her name? The woman?
Fran, the housekeeper. Yeah, who we find out later figured out what Ransom was up to. And so she's blackmailing Ransom, but then Ransom just like edits the note and slips it into Marta's mailbox. So Marta thinks Fran is blackmailing her.
Yeah, right. So it's like we start to get twist after twist of just like, actually it's this, well, actually it's this thing, and well, actually it's also this thing, you know. And meanwhile we get this scene where Marta goes in to confront whoever is blackmailing them and finds Fran. They are all drugged up and basically dying. And Marta decides to save her. And she calls 911 to get the I guess in ambulance there, not the cops. But meanwhile, that whole time, they are on their way to the police station for her to make a statement and you know, do some stuff with that. But in her passenger seat is Benoit Blanc, and he's waiting for her to go do this thing. She's like, I have an errand to run. Can we make a quick stop, like, before we go there? Like, and he's just like, all right, sure, whatever.
Yeah, get your dry cleaning.
He's waiting in the car with his iPod in, and he's just singing away like, la 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 la, you know.
Very charming.
While the ambulance comes in behind him, and he's just like, what is going on? Oh shit.
Right. I think they do a great job of making Benoit Blanc so fallible without pushing him over the line into being a buffoon.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, you think as this, like, the last of the gentleman detectives, right? Like, he's gonna be charming and dashing and real smart, and he is smart. He can be dashing, but he's also just a buffoon. Like, he's like, he has this other side of him that's just like, dude, you're an idiot. Like,
he's using all his donut metaphors.
Right?
Yeah, I think I think the real anchor of this movie is Lakeith Stanfield as the most normal person. Because Marta's pretty normal,
Right.
but she does have that like extra human, I literally cannot lie or else it causes me physical distress trait.
Yeah.
Lakeith seems like straight down the middle, just a dude, just a fellow, just wandering around in his shiny little shoes.
Here conducting the interviews. Can we get back to the
just exasperated, just trying to get his job done.
Yeah, he's good. But yeah, and that I thought was also one of the funnier moments, just the oh shit moment where he's like, something's happening and I'm not there. But yeah, so where are we? They're finally figuring out, like, he's starting to put things together, Benoit is, and he's starting to be like, okay, it's not just Marta, something else isn't adding up, and he's starting to piece things together, and I think he finally pieces it together when he interviews Nana, and he's like, you saw something that night, didn't you?
Yeah, because like nobody has been talking to Nana.
Yeah.
Nana just sits in a corner and looks around.
Yeah, Joe and her best baby Yoda just.
Yeah.
So he finally talks to her, and it's just like, this is when you see him put on the charm, right? And he is the charming detective. He's like, I know you saw something. I'm gonna charm you and sit here with you. We can just sit here until you say something, because I know you know something. And we don't see her say something. The scene changes, but she eventually spills it, and it's enough for him to kind of put things together of like, someone else switched the drugs before Martha, or before Marta did. I think I know who it is now. And then we get kind of the big reveal scene, which as much as he's figured it out, like, he isn't really the one that nailed the culprit. Like, at the end of the day, it is Marta who kind of saves the day and tries her damnedest to lie for as long as she can, because she ended up saving Fran's life, or trying to, I think is what happened, right? It was because she's the one that gets the phone call as the one that called 911, and it is a nurse to be like, hey, can you update me on the situation? And she gets the update in the middle of this interview where it's like, we know it was you, Ransom, haha, but we can't also really do much about it, but we know it was you, and she gets this update, and then just like, no one tells her to, but she decides to lie and be like, she's fine. Like all there is maybe attempted murder, and even at that, like, he has really good lawyers because he's rich, right? But she lies, and is like, she's she's dead, or no, she's alive, and then that's when he confesses to all of this stuff, and she is just like, bleh, and throws up on him there, and she's like, she actually didn't make it, so I lied, and you just confessed to the murders and all of that stuff. So and that's when he tries to grab a knife. They have this whole like Game of Thrones
knife wheel
style,
the knife wheel.
Yeah, it's just a prop. I don't know why they even have this in there. It's just you're a mystery writer. You're just gonna have a wall of knives. That's what.
So I remember this from the trailers, and I think from the poster. It is just like this huge circle like
It's a donut.
6 feet high. It is a donut. It is a donut. There's a
Yeah.
hole in the middle made out of wire with all of these knives, wired onto it. And I thought this was going to be something that they talked about in the movie. Like, Grandpa always had this weird art piece. Like, it was going to be introduced as like a Chekhov's gun. Like, is the murder weapon one of these 200 knives? How will we ever fingerprint dust 200 knives? But throughout the movie, you see it in the background. Nobody talks about it. The camera's not pointed at knife donut. You just see knife donut. And it's just left up to you to imagine that's probably a prop for like Harlan Thrombey's back of the book jacket about the author photo. Like that's a prop from like a magazine profile photo shoot. Here he is in front of the circle of knives. Yeah, but it does not come into play. You think it is just set dressing until the final scene where Chris grabs a knife off of it, stabs Marta in this very dramatic scene, and then he pulls it away, and it's like a fake prop knife where the blade retracts.
Yeah. So they do kind of make it a Chekhov's gun.
They do, yeah, because you keep seeing it. It's just never the subject of any cinematographical or a dialogue focus.
Well, it's not a dialogue focus, but it is mentioned. It's hinted at. There is the scene when Marta is giving them the drugs at the beginning of the film. He has this like knife there, and he mentions something about like, oh, they can't tell the difference between a real knife and a prop knife. And I don't remember if he's mentioning someone specific and if he is talking about Ransom in that moment, if he's just kind of generalizing like my family or someone else or something. Yeah. But yeah, he does give this big hint of like a prop knife, blah blah blah.
Right. But what's great about that is that he gives that speech to Marta in his study with this little, like, almost like a decorative letter opener, maybe, that is very sharp that he's got on his desk, which is completely separate from the knife donut, which is down in, like, the sitting room. Like, it's like you've got two halves of a Chekhov's gun, and then later it's pulled together. Like, these two things were destined, that metaphor and this little background visual were destined to come together later. We're going to put these things together when they weren't together before.
Yeah. And so that is, I guess, yet another charge of attempted murder to his rap sheet there. But yeah, they finally arrest him and take him away. And that's kind of the end of the film, and we get that scene where she's up on the balcony with her cup that says it's my house, my coffee, my rules, right? Mm-hmm. And the whole family is just like, what's gonna happen next?
Our future's in your hands.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, so I think the last thing that I kind of want to say about this film is that whole donut thing. As ridiculous as it is, there is that knife wall wheel donut thing. Yeah. But then when you think about it, it really is this like donut-shaped thing where Marta is the donut inside the donut, right? Like she is there, but the donut around her is the family all pointing at her with their knives, being like, give us all our money. Like, we want our inheritance.
Yeah, and even characters who are more sympathetic to her, like Meg, we see a scene where Meg, like, after the will is read, where Meg calls Marta and is like, hey, I'm sorry, we all totally blew up at you. The money is your own to do whatever you want with it.
Promise no one is listening.
Yeah, but like Grandpa was the one paying for my entire college. My mom is broke. Like, if I don't have this money, I have to drop out of school, like making her plea. And then Marta's like, kind of sensing something's going on, and says, "Don't worry, Meg, I'll take care of you." And then Meg just hangs up in that second. Then we see her side of the conversation, and it's all the adults like staring at her, like making her like, "You're the one she likes the most. You call Marta. You try and get on her good side." So like there are a lot of knives pointed at her, but some of them are through proxy.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, it's good. I thought the cinematography was fantastic. It's exactly like it's not necessarily doing anything different from what I would expect in a like murder mystery kind of thing there, but it still it looks great. It does, I think, at times kind of have that like heightened sense of like those oh shit moments that we see in the film. I feel like they kind of mimic that in the way they shoot this this movie. But yeah, good stuff all around. I had fun watching it.
It is fun. Yeah, and I do love it technically. Like, I want an entire coffee table book of just every knick-knack in that mansion. Like, there's so much craft put into like the design of the mansion, and then like every wardrobe piece. Like, I think the way people's hair looks, like it's packed with a lot of. Rian Johnson didn't write one very, very good script and then just sort of waved his hands at everything else. Like everything in the movie got that same level of detail applied to it.
It's almost like, you know how when we watched Hannibal season 1 and we were like, this show is so lush. There's detail everywhere. It's packed with it's like that, but instead of being classy like Hannibal was, it was more antique and kitschy almost. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yes,
like,
no, that's perfect. Yeah, it is the
kitschy
counterpart to Hannibal.
Yeah.
Because not all of these things in the apartment and in the mansion are like fine art pieces. They are just like weird little folk art statues.
Right.
I think there's something, it's like a pig, but then the pig has like a lion's mane around it made out of like grass.
I don't know. Yeah.
Like just weird little statuettes all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. So good stuff. I like the film. Do you have final thoughts that you want to say?
I love the end credits. I love the little illustrations for the end credits. Big fan of whenever the credits have that person's face next to them. And the little illustrations, I think, were a nod to Clue, the end credits of Clue.
Yeah.
Which I think are one of the finest sets of end credits I've seen in film. And I was happy to see this homage to it.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. I enjoyed this a lot. Would definitely recommend it. A lot of fun, but I think it's also like it's not a film that I would be like, oh man, this is great, you have to see it right now, best mystery film ever. Like it's I don't like, it's not a bad film by any means at all, but I think it sits in this place that is just like, this was good, this was entertaining, I had a blast, but it's also not like groundbreaking of just like, oh man, like, you need like right now go the twist, oh my god, you know, like it's not that level of stuff, but it's it just this was solid.
It consistently hits you with moments over and over again, but that doesn't all pile up into a scream.
Right. Yeah. Indeed. Recommendations.
Yeah.
Melissa, what would you recommend to people who watch this and enjoyed it? What else might they like?
As I keep mentioning, Clue. I love Clue. Clue's a movie I keep wanting to get you to watch. And like, I thought about saving it for Halloween this year, but it wasn't spooky enough, so I bumped it off. You have seen Clue?
Yeah. I've seen Clue. That's a great one.
Okay.
That's the one with multiple endings,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you had, I remember we talked about Clue in our Ready or Not episode, and I thought you hadn't seen it.
I might not have seen it at the time.
Okay.
Maybe. No, because
Okay.
I didn't watch it this year, and that's I think we started this year with Ready or Not.
Yeah, that was in like
Man,
January or February.
What a movie to start the year with, called Ready or Not, and it's 2020. God damn it. Oh man.
Yeah, I recommend Clue. Another like star-studded cast. I think Clue is the movie that sets me up to think every other murderous mansion movie is going to spend the entire time in the mansion, just circling around a handful of character actors. That's the expectation I have every time. Whereas in Ready or Not, I was a little disappointed that it veered so far off of that. But with Knives Out, I love just how structurally odd and unexpected this movie is. And I also want to recommend Logan Lucky, the other Daniel Craig does a Southern accent movie.
Yeah.
Which we didn't even talk about his KFC accent in this film. It is outstanding. It's such a wild, bold, beautiful choice. Very well executed. It has a Southern accent in Logan Lucky, too. I think that movie's set in like West Virginia. And it's a completely different type of Southern accent. So it's really delightful to hear this British actor develop very strongly two completely separate American dialects. I'm very proud of him. Yeah, Logan Lucky.
That one's a heist film, right?
Yeah. It's directed by, I think, Steven Soderbergh, who's the director of the Ocean's 11 franchise. And it is about these brothers who team up to rob the bank of cash for the concession stands at like an Indy 500 race.
Yeah.
So it's very, I think the movie was billed as like a hillbilly heist movie. It's like baked in that sort of a subculture, but it's really well put together, like very tightly plotted. Daniel Craig's like somebody they know who's like put in jail from their last little criminal escapade, and they have to find a way to break him out of jail to help them with this, and then break him back in so that nobody suspects a thing.
Yeah.
So there's the heist, and then there's also the jailbreak in and out that they're dealing with simultaneously. Okay. There's a lot going on in this film. Lots of great performances. Speaking of The Last Jedi, Adam Driver is in this. He's delightful to watch. You just get to see all these people do fun Southern accents. It's great. It's funny. And I was really impressed by how like tight and twisty the plot was. So definitely check out Logan Lucky.
Okay. I would actually recommend Murder on the Orient Express, which we covered back in August 13th for episode 118. That's another mystery novel, all set on a train. It's based off an Agatha Christie novel, which again has a huge influence on Knives Out. So I would absolutely recommend that. And it still follows that same structure where they're doing the interviews, all of that stuff. They're figuring things out, and then at the end they have the scene where everything is revealed, and they're like, "We blame you, haha." So yeah, classic mystery novel structure with that. And then I would also go back and watch Brick, which is one of Rian Johnson's other films. I think that was that his first like debut film.
It might have been,
I don't remember off the top of my head, but that is also a crime noir film. I don't remember if it's a murder mystery or not. It's been a while since I've seen it. I think somebody does get killed. Yeah, I haven't seen this since like 2009. One of my college professors showed it to us. It was, in that like college orientation class you take. Yeah.
It's no real content. It's just, hey, welcome to college.
It's kind of an English class, but it's not really.
Yeah. I got into the honors variant of that class.
Oh, well,
which was just our professor, the philosophy professor, just getting really deep into what does college mean? What does education mean? But then also she had a day where she's like, I just want to show you guys a movie I really like. Here's Brick.
There you go. Good
So,
stuff.
I haven't seen Brick since then. My memories of it are fuzzy, but I remember I had a really fun time. It is a great film. I've been wanting to rewatch.
It's a really, really good film. It's interesting because it goes at a breakneck speed. It's a lot like Primer, which I guess I could also recommend in that sense to this film. But both Primer and Brick just go nonstop, like 110 miles an hour. And though Brick is a crime noir, it's all set in a high school. It's starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who plays, I think, a senior in that. He's super young in that film. But yeah, they do this like super tight, fast-paced movie, and then they mix in all of this like just real thick crime noir dialogue in it, and it's a delight to just watch the whole thing. So I think that compared to where he's at with Knives Out, I think Knives Out is maybe a better movie. But it's like it's much slower paced, but it's not a slow movie, right? So yeah, it'd be an interesting double feature to watch that and see how far he's come in writing and directing. So there you go. That's what I would recommend.
Good choice.
Indeed. Melissa, it is your turn to do the pitches this week. What have you got for me?
So I looked at the calendar, and this is my second to last set of pitches for the year. The schedule works out that I get the last episode of the year because we would be recording that on December 13th, wouldn't we?
That or the 22nd. I'm not sure. We'll have to talk off air and see what we want to do.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
think we have tentatively planned our end of the year retrospective for the weekend of the 21st. Or no, sorry.
You're looking at November.
Yeah, I'm looking at November here. Yeah, the weekend of the 19th and 20th is when we have our end of the year retrospective tentatively planned. We haven't really decided yet if we want the 13th to be the last thing for the review show or the 20th. I like to give us 2 weeks off at the end of the year, so I guess it just depends on when you want to record that first one when we come back in January, because that first weekend is the weekend of the 2nd and the 3rd, so that might be a little too soon.
What am I doing? Kyle, I don't have things to do. But anyways, either way, this is my second last set of pitches for the year. My final set's going to be holiday movies, of course. So this is just a clearinghouse of things I've been meaning to watch all year.
Okay.
No theme. Yeah. Season 1 is something I have been wanting to pitch for a while. It's a British TV series. And I think every time I think about pitching it, it's like, oh, we just did Sherlock. We just did Paddington. We just did something British. So I kept like shelving it because the timing wasn't right. And I finally remembered to come back around to it at the end of the year. I would like to pitch season 1 of Killing Eve.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Which is a very highly regarded show, and I've been extra interested to check it out because it is created by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who has co-written the script for No Time to Die.
There you go. What else is
starring?
Hey, done. Where do I know that name from?
Is she Fleabag?
I have no idea. Let me see here.
There's also a singer named Phoebe Bridgers who I keep mixing her up with, and I think I've finally now gotten them straight.
Bridge. What do I know her from?
But yeah, Killing Eve. Season 1 is 8 episodes. You can find this on Hulu. Eve's life as a spy is not adding up to what she had hoped it would be when she started. She's a very bored, very smart MI5 security officer who's very desk-bound. Villanelle is a very talented killer, mercurial in mood, who clings to the luxuries of her job. Eve and Villanelle go head-to-head in a fierce game of cat and mouse, each woman equally obsessed with the other as Eve is tasked with hunting down the psychopathic assassin. This blurb I pulled also includes a quote from the BBC president who says, "Killing Eve stands out in a sea of scripted stories as a refreshingly entertaining and great fun." Which is what I've heard about the show, that it is classified as a drama, that it is very tightly packed, very tightly plotted. But I've heard that it's a fun watch.
Yeah.
Especially like the relationship between this investigator and this criminal, the way they play back and forth with each other. I believe kind of flirtatiously. Would like to see it play out for myself.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but good things with that. I've just heard rave reviews for Killing Eve. So
yeah.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I will just mention real fast. She played L337 in Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yes.
And then she played a character in Broadchurch, which is a British detective show starring David Tennant and Jodie. I don't remember her name. She's the new Doctor
Jodie
Who.
Whittaker.
Right, yeah. Her. But yeah, she also is in Fleabag and Killing Eve, and apparently she is the voice of Cyan Kotor in His Dark Materials. So, there you go.
Is that one of the polar bears? I don't know what's in that show. As far as I know, it's all polar bears.
I don't know anything about His Dark Materials. I know it's based off some books that goes by a different name, I think, or something like that.
No, I don't know.
Whatever.
Well, pitch number 2. This is the movie Unbreakable. The M. Night Shyamalan film from the year 2000. This I saw when I was like maybe 13. I really liked it. I think the movie, while not often spoke about, is pretty well regarded, and I've really been wanting to watch it again. The plot for this is that a security guard, having been the sole survivor of a high-fatality train crash, finds himself at the center of a mysterious theory that explains his consistent physical good fortune. When news of his survival is made public, a man whose own body is excessively weak tracks him down in an attempt to explain his unique, unbreakable nature. Yeah, I've been wanting to watch this again, and I think since there are comic book themes to this movie, it would be a nice cap off to a year where we're in the middle of talking about Irredeemable, and we've covered a lot of other superhero homage and pastiche media. Yeah. This is a very dramatic take on that.
Interesting. Okay.
This would also be our third date with Bruce Willis this year.
Third date with Bruce Willis. That's right. Yeah.
Pitch number 3. I think I've pitched this to you before. This is the Stanley Kubrick film Eyes Wide Shut from 1999, starring Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman while they were married, I think. I don't remember. I was 9. This movie is set in the wintertime. I think it's like set parallel to Christmas, like nothing Christmassy happens. There's just Christmas stuff in the background when they go walking around.
Cold. I have a scene in my head where it's cold outside. Right.
So I thought this might be an appropriate pitch for this time of year as we slowly gear up for the Christmas season. Okay. After Dr. Bill Hartford's wife Alice admits to having sexual fantasies about a man she met, Bill becomes obsessed with having a sexual encounter. He discovers an underground sexual group and attends one of their meetings and quickly discovers he is in over his head. I've always been curious about this movie. I remember hearing just the disaster tales of just how long it took to shoot, how arduous the shoot was. There were takes over and over again. The movie spent so much time in like production void being edited and re-edited. It was released after Stanley Kubrick's death, I think. I remember all the meta narrative around this movie, even from being like 9 years old. And I've always wanted to check it out. And like that sex cult scene towards the end of the movie, I think.
Very famous.
See, I don't even know when in the movie it is. Right. Like that's something all of us recognize. I know exactly what it is. I always know when something is paying homage to Eyes Wide Shut. I've never seen Eyes Wide Shut, and I figured maybe this year is the year I'll do it.
Like the Venture Brothers episode.
Exactly.
Where,
I was originally considering like a set of pitches that were movies we've seen other stuff this year homage to. So it was going to be this. It was going to be Fight Club for Mr. Robot. It was going to be Music Man for the monorail episode of The Simpsons.
Sure. Okay.
Instead, I went with this little grab bag clearinghouse. So we could watch season 1 of Killing Eve, Unbreakable, or Eyes Wide Shut. So I can cross something off my list this year.
Oh, man. I'm probably going to have a fairly busy week this week, so I'm going to nix Killing Eve.
Okay.
However, right now I'm tied between Unbreakable and Eyes Wide Shut. If we do Unbreakable, I would want to add the other 2 films.
Okay.
But I don't know, because so Unbreakable, when he originally made this,
yes,
was just a standalone film, and it looked like there was going to be a sequel, and then it just never came, because that's when M. Night Shyamalan hit big, and that's when he started to make The Sixth Sense and Signs and all that stuff, and he became the guy that made movies with a twist, and then it just went downhill from there. And it seems like a lot of these studios were like, they had a lot of influence on his films to be like, actually, we want them to be like this, and he was just like, screw this, And then he ends up making a movie called Split, starring James McAvoy. And apparently, at the end of that film, there is a surprise cameo by Bruce Willis's character from Unbreakable. And so everyone's like, oh shit, they're in the same universe. What the hell?
Yeah.
And then he ends up making a third movie called Glass, which is the end of that trilogy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've heard mixed reviews on all of that stuff, but I've only ever seen Unbreakable.
Yeah, same here.
So, oh man, this is tough because I don't think we've done a Stanley Kubrick film on the review show.
Yeah, at least we haven't together. Yeah.
Because he's also he's a really good director that I haven't fully explored yet, and I'm really interested in his films. I've seen 2001. I've seen most of Eyes Wide Shut. I haven't seen it in its entirety. I've seen bits and pieces of The Shining and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of his work in bits and pieces, and I like it all. I've seen A Clockwork I've seen A Clockwork Orange. That one was good. Gee, that was a weird one. But yeah, I don't know. This is tough. Okay.
I do appreciate your idea to upgrade Unbreakable to be the entire Unbreakable trilogy. I am down for that if that's what you want to do.
Okay. I might just have to go with that just for the novelty of it. Like, I've seen that, it is like a superhero movie trilogy that not many people really talk about, and I know that first film especially was held in high regard. I remember liking it a lot, being like, this is really cool, and then just I never saw the rest of them. Once I knew, I was like, oh man, they're set in the same universe.
Yeah.
Okay, let's investigate. So let's go with the Unbreakable trilogy.
Okay.
Which I guess is, according to the Wikipedia, officially known as the Eastrail 117 trilogy, which is a terrible name.
It's named after the train?
I don't know. It should be called the Unbreakable Trilogy. But yeah. So yeah, the first one is like a indie superhero film. The second one is more of a horror film, like a psychological horror film, and then the third one, I guess, gets back to the superhero like team up film.
Yes, yeah. The third one seems like, well, the first movie is like, it was his second movie. This was his follow up to The Sixth Sense, and I think like the superhero element of it was hidden. Like that wasn't like in the marketing or anything. You're sitting there in the movie. You're like, wow. The mystery is, how did this guy survive this accident?
Right.
And the answer is, oh, he's a superhero.
Yeah.
Which is a great answer to that question when you're not expecting it.
Yeah. So let's do it. Let's watch the Unbreakable Trilogy.
I didn't double check. I think these are all on HBO Max. I think that's where these movies live.
Cool. Yeah, I don't have HBO Max, but I will figure it out. We will do it.
Yeah. They may be elsewhere. That's where I think I've seen them recently.
I can rent them or something if need be. But yeah, good stuff. I'm excited.
Yeah, this will be fun. I think this will be especially fun to talk about while we're covering Irredeemable.
Yeah, indeed. Which I think after we cover this is then after the Irredeemable, or not the Irredeemable, but after we do the Unbreakable trilogy, then we will do our final thing on Irredeemable the week after that. So cool. Good stuff.
Yep.
Good stuff. Yeah, that is what we will do for this next week, the Unbreakable trilogy. Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities, where my brother Jams and I just talk about weird old kids shows. Some we remember and some we are just making ourselves watch for the first time now as adults.
There you go. Good stuff. And you guys just put one out on Hamtaro, right?
Yeah. Not super obscure, but an old favorite we wanted to talk about.
Sure. Yeah. Good stuff. You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter and Instagram. If you guys want to stay up to date with our shows, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. Go like, share, subscribe. Go follow us on Twitch. Twitch.tv/the Whatnauts. Right now we are at 41 followers. We're hoping to make it to 50. So if you guys could follow us on Twitch, that would be amazing. We live stream every Friday night at 9 p.m., which is when we do the Captain's Log. So if you want to see me and Melissa hang out and talk about all sorts of shenanigans, you guys should come say hi in our live stream chat on twitch.tv/the Whatnauts. But yeah, I think that is about it for now. This has been episode 132 of the Whatnauts review show. We are inching closer to 150. That's going to be amazing if we can make it all the way there.
The Pokemon number.
Right? Yeah. Oh my God! Did you see that video of the guy doing the Trump impersonation, but he's talking all about Pokemon, and he's like, back in my there was only 150 Pokemon. I don't know why there has to be more than that. It's great. I'll send you the link. It is genuinely hilarious. Good stuff. But yeah, we will end with that. We will see you all next week with the Unbreakable trilogy. Until then, bye.
Bye.